Alright guys, so in this video, I will be showing you guys how you can deploy your very first web app completely for free. Now, the way we're going to make this work is that we're going to be using this website called Render, which lets you host your website online. Obviously, because it's for free, it's not going to have the best resources available, but it's going to be enough so you can deploy your very first website. Okay, so with that being said, let's go through with the very first things you're going to need to make this work. So, first things first, you're going to need something to actually deploy. So in my case, I have an AI social media outreach tool. The first thing we're going to need is a requirements.txt file. This is going to tell Render what kind of dependencies your project needs to install. If you don't know how to do this, the easiest way you can is by plugging in the code you have from your project into ChatGPT and asking it to make a requirements.txt file based on your code. Next, you're going to need a .toml file, which is also used for dependencies. Now, this may or may not be used, so if it's not used, it's okay. Just keep it empty. But we're going to need to set the entry point here. This part is very important, so make sure you pay attention. We're going to need to structure our project properly so that Render knows where to look. So we're going to need a source file and then the name of your project within that source file. And then within this source file, we're going to need an app.py file. This is where your endpoints are at and where your application is going to be using to talk to your server. We're also going to need an index.html. I just so happen to do it directly in the app.py file, but what you can do as well is you can make a separate index.html file and have that be your front end. Now let's go inside of Render and see how we plug all of this in. Okay, so now inside of Render, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to account settings and link your GitHub repository to your Render account. In my case, my GitHub repository is already linked. This is where Render will be getting your source code from your GitHub repository. Next, we're going to want to go to projects. And then once you're inside of projects, you're going to want to click on web service. This is where you will be choosing the GitHub repository that you want to use. In my case, it's going to be my social media manager. Okay, perfect. So now pay attention because this part is important. Here we're going to leave this as is. Remember the requirements.txt we made earlier? It's going to install the dependencies that we mentioned in there. And here we're going to use Gunicorn. And now we're going to be referencing our app.py file. So we have to take note of the path. So here it was within source. Sorry, I made a typo. Source.socialmedia underscore manager dot app. Or we click here. And then we're going to do semicolon app. This is going to tell Render that this app.py file is going to be our main file. This is very important to do. Okay, next we're going to pick the 450 a month. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to be the free tier one. As you can see here, we're only using 0.1 CPU, so this is going to be very, very slow, but it's free, so don't complain, cheapskate. Okay, next, we're going to be setting any environment variables that we used within our project. In my case, I used the Gemini API key, as well as I specified what model I'll be using. Make sure that make sure you don't share these environment variables with anybody because this usually has to be kept a secret. Okay, once we input that value, the last thing we got to do is deploy web service. Again, because it's free, it's going to take a long time, so just please be patient. As you can see, it's cloning from my specified GitHub repository, and then it's going to install the requirements that I told it to install. This website is going to be up and ready for you guys to have a look, so feel free to check it out down in the description below. Okay, and now as you can see here, we are live. So let's click on the link. Let's give it a go and see what comes out. I'm going to enter predefined inputs here that I was already testing. We're going to hit on generate DM. And it's going to take a while. We get the generated DM and we can copy the clipboard. I'm going to leave this website in the link in the description below so you guys can check it out for yourself and play around with it. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching and I will see you in the next video.